Hi, in today's video we're going to chat to Luke McGarry, who's a sports journalist at 7 News, and he's going to tell us about sports reporting, the industry and also his career. So tell me a little bit about what you love about sports journalism.
Well, where could I start? I could talk about this for hours, but sports journalism, well, I already had a love for news and a love for writing before I became a journalist more than a decade ago, but also a passion for sport. So to be able to mix writing with a passion for sport, write about sport, talk to sports stars, talk to athletes, put it together in a package in a story, it's like living the dream, really.
I guess it would be the dream for a lot of sports enthusiasts. Do you find that?
Absolutely. Many people out there, when they ask about journalism and ask about what we do, they are quite interested when they find out there is a specific area of sports journalism. Some people don't always feel quite comfortable necessarily with the news side of it, but sport, they feel a bit more comfortable, they know about it, but that's just certain people. So other people prefer the news element. I happen to love the sport, and there's a lot of other people that do too.
And do you think that that is something, I guess it's to do with Australian culture? Do you think that's where it's reflected?
Absolutely. Sport is ingrained in us. Look at any grand final, look at State of Origin, look at the Olympics. Everybody gets behind it. It's very hard to find a person that doesn't know something about at least one sport. And then you've got people like myself that love to obsess over lots of different sports. We're, of course, in winter at the moment, so it is footy season. So it's not hard to find a newspaper or a news article right now on sport, particularly about Australian sport.
All right. So what are some of the secrets, I guess, about sports journalism?
Some of the secrets, getting to know your talent, getting to know, particularly in regional areas, people that are coming through the ranks, start reporting on them when they're younger, start reporting on them when they're making themselves known, and then when they become a lot better, once they become an Olympian, they'll already have a rapport with you, they'll already have a relationship with you. Regional sports very much like that. Don't burn your bridges, get along with the teams, do what you have to do within reason. Be friendly, be respectful, but at the same time, you still have a job to do. If somebody's misbehaved from a team, you do have to unfortunately report on it. But at the same time, it's good to keep the respect levels between both parties, them and yourself. Always keep up with what's going on. Make calls outside work time if you need to, just for a chit chat with a coach or a player to find out how they're going. Make it seem like it's not just all about the job. You're not just talking to them between the hours of 8 and 4. You actually legitimately care how they go on a weekend. Text them after their result. Wish them luck on a weekend. Say condolences if they have a loss. So, but they come to see you as a person who likes sport, not just a journalist with a microphone.
I guess that's the thing in all news, isn't it? It's about building relationships. Yep. Is that something that you think has been key in your career?
Absolutely, especially in regional sport reporting. But the Sunshine Coast where I am now, I could not get half the stories if I didn't get along with the local swimming coaches, with the netball coaches, with the Falcons Rugby League coaches, with all those people. If they didn't respect me, if I didn't do my job properly and didn't make relationships with them, they could very easily just never give me scoops. And they do give me scoops. They give me things to say thank you for giving us coverage when it's there. And yeah, I like to think that they understand when I have to do stories that they don't always necessarily agree with.
I guess we've seen sport cross over into news a lot more in recent times perhaps. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's the way it is. It doesn't really matter whether you like it or you don't. Sport has always been a big element of the news, particularly the colour side of it. State of Origin, grand final, the preps, the fans coming into town. If the grand final's on, when the Cowboys played the Broncos back in 2015, there were stories on the Broncos and Cowboy supporters getting on planes and flying to Sydney to watch the game. There's the colour back in Townsville of all the Cowboys people at Cowboys Leagues Club watching, and in the pubs watching the grand final. So that's an element of sport in the news, because that isn't necessarily just a play-by-play game wrap. A lot of people like to see the colour side of it. A lot of people that have maybe just a semi-interest in sport, they like the pictures, they like seeing the people get out and enjoying themselves, and suddenly they become interested in it. Oh, the grand final's on, look at all the fans are going in the pub, I better make sure I watch that game. Because, they might not necessarily watch the sport, but they watch the news and see it in there. And then, of course, there's the stories you alluded to that we don't necessarily want to have to cover. A sport player in court, criminal charges, drugs in sport, those sorts of things. They're there whether you like it or not. They need to be done. There's still, a lot of back and forth about whether the sports reporter themselves need to do those stories or whether that gets passed on to another news reporter. A lot of newsrooms I've seen, they do have the news reporters that do that side so that the sport reporter can continue to keep their relationship with the sporting talent, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, particularly on limited staff, you just got to bite the bullet and do it, and it needs to be done. 9 times out of 10, most people that work at a professional sporting club understand that it's not going to be 100% rosy, the stories that you do.
And I guess that is the same in news as well, whether you're covering business or politics.
Political reporters would have the same thing. People that are court reporters, people that do the cop rounds, the police rounds, they would have the same problems as well.
And how do you deal with that?
I think a simple message to the person first that you might have to track down or hunt down or fine